Hey there, and welcome to the Paid Ads Playbook. My name is Haplin. I'm on the product marketing and education team, and I am going to be walking you through how to succeed with paid ads using High Level. But enough about me, let's talk a little bit more about you. I figure if you're watching this, then you fall into one of two categories. You've either never run an ad before, or you have run ads and have had negative experiences. I don't think there's anyone watching this video who has run ads and has not had some kind of negative experience with it. If you are a unicorn. Maybe you don't need this playbook at all, frankly. But for most of the rest of us, ads are tough, and especially in the agency context or in the B2B context, when you're running ads on behalf of another business, it can get even more tough. There's multiple points of friction in the client management relationship trying to continue to justify ad spend or increases in ad spend, as well as your retainer, etc. The whole ads agency model is just difficult. And at the end of the day, even when you nail all of that stuff, you can still lose your client or still get your ads paused because you were generating so many leads, but then they weren't converting, right? The business wasn't following up with them properly. They didn't have the proper sales infrastructure to be able to make the most out of the results of the campaign. That is by far the most common tragedy I have heard from ads agencies. I can't tell you the number of agencies I've talked to who have stories about having lost clients because the client would come to them and fire them saying, your leads suck. Yeah, you're getting a great cost per lead, but they all suck. None of them are buying. And then the agency comes back with, well, are you following up with them? Are you doing anything to engage them? Oftentimes they weren't doing anything, or sometimes maybe the client took one pass at calling each of the leads once, got voicemail every time, of course, and then gave up after that. And then if advertising was that entire agency model in terms of its services, pausing ads means you've lost the client. There's no more relationship after that because all you were doing was advertising for them. And then even when everything goes well, the ad goes well and conversions are going well, the nurturing and the sales go well, it's pretty rare for that to be sustainable. Usually, even in the best case scenario, they start to stale out in a local market. You kind of tap the whole market and get all of those results, and within 6 months, it's time to either retool the offer or go back to the drawing board, or you just need to pause and let the market recuperate before you turn them on again. But the good news for you watching this video, resourceful entrepreneur that you are, is that High Level solves these problems. There is a new way to run ads that this playbook is going to show you. Let's run through some of the differences between the old way and the new way. In the old way, you have, for example, Meta or Google, these big platforms that are very complicated, and even just trying to get access to an ads account, it can be a nightmare. Clients can get hung up for weeks or months on this, especially low tech ones, local businesses that aren't very tech savvy. That is its own whole rat's nest to figure out. But in the new way, the client logs into High Level, integrates their Meta account once, and then they're good to go. In fact, we can launch ads from High Level's user interface, which simplifies and expedites the ads process, so you never even have to log into Meta. All of the most important pieces of the ad setup process get pulled into High Level so that most businesses can launch everything that they need to succeed from inside of High Level in just 3 steps. Of course, advanced expert advertisers can still log into Meta, but most small businesses don't need that. For most small businesses, trying to navigate an ads platform like Meta's Business Manager is like using heavy machinery when all you really needed was a hammer. When you use High Level, you don't have to learn how to operate a crane just to be able to do the job of the hammer. We just give you the hammer. Next up is lead organization. Just to be able to deliver the lead to a client, you would need to set up Zapier and a Google Sheet, which looks kind of unprofessional and garage sale level if you're just delivering your client a Google Sheet. I used to work in an agency that did that. No shame in that game, but there's just better ways to do it, more professional and cleaner. With the new way of doing things in High Level, every lead you generate is automatically created as a contact with a full profile that can be managed in various ways inside of a CRM. I'll also show you how to set up a custom sales pipeline to match the sales journey for the particular business you're running ads for. So like new lead, hot lead, appointment set, different stages along the sales pipeline. You can customize that and organize all of your leads in there in a beautiful CRM, looks a lot better and just is way more professional than Google Sheets and more effective. Next is follow-up. So if you were zapping leads into the Google Sheet, you would have maybe columns for follow-up dates or whatever. I remember that's what we used to do in the old agency is we deliver leads to the client and basically just hope for the best. Just say to the client, hopefully you call all these leads, make sure you text your leads, email your leads, and maybe 1 out of 10 clients will actually do that. In the new way, running leads through High Level, we have automation set up that engages every single lead within the first 5 minutes of them being generated. Hugely important activity. We have a consolidated inbox that makes it really easy for a representative of the business to handle live conversations that are happening via SMS and email and other channels as well. Some agencies even include lead nurturing as a done-for-you service and provide this service on behalf of a business that's too busy to really be handling their follow-up. We've also got calendars with automation. I'll show you how to set that all up. So if you're running sales appointments, you can put leads into that calendar with all the necessary reminders, marking appointment outcomes so that when there's a no-show for a sales appointment, we get to rebook them, etc. Next up is tracking and reporting. So in the old way, you just had to go to your client and ask them if they'd made any sales and hope that they've been tracking something about the outcome of this campaign, if they're getting ROI from it, and you just kind of had to take them at their word, and whatever story they had to tell about how the campaign was going was sort of the bottom line. Then you had to install the pixel on the website. That's a complicated process, and honestly, it doesn't work as well anymore because of ad blockers, and the iOS permissions update forces you to ask every new user if they want to accept cookies, many block, etc. And then if you wanted to use Conversion API, you had to figure that out in a way that I'm not even qualified to speak on. But what I do know is that in High Level, we've solved all of these problems. First of all, we have the ability to actually make sales inside of High Level with some of the payments features. And even if you're not actually processing payments in High Level, it's still really easy to track conversions and hold your client accountable to tracking those sales outcomes. And then one of the coolest parts for optimizing targeting, we can actually send Conversion API events totally custom based on lead actions inside of the CRM. And I'll show you how to set all that stuff up. This is like really technical stuff, but we've made it so easy that even a beginner can get all of the benefits of these really advanced techniques. Next, we come to the topic of lifetime value. Now, this is something, frankly, I had a hard time even putting the old way together for, because most ad agencies or most advertising efforts aren't even thinking about long-term at all. They don't even have the bandwidth or the inspiration or even the conception of what long-term lead value even means. When the client comes back and says the leads are garbage, there's really nothing you can say. You lost a client. But with the new way of doing things, I'm going to show you how to organize all the leads in a compliant marketing database that is ready for long-term follow-up. I'll teach you how to send email and SMS promotions directly to the list on either a monthly or quarterly or whatever type of cadence is really best for the business. We call this type of campaign a database reactivation. If you remember nothing else from this entire playbook, remember the words database reactivation, because by having a good database reactivation strategy, you basically are doubling or tripling or even further increasing the value of every lead you are ever going to generate, paid or organic, for the rest of your life. I know that sounds dramatic, but this is truly the way you make sure no leads ever slip through the cracks on you ever again. They are going to get respectful and appropriate yet persistent follow-up until they either buy or they opt out. And in fact, you can see I even crossed out the words buy, because even once they buy, then they can be reactivated again to become repeat customers, and that's very common. And that leads us to the bottom line. So in the old way, if you're an agency with clients, between your ad spend and your retainer on top of that, they're going to be lucky to break even on their investment, and it's super common for after 1 to 2 months for them to just say, we need to pause, looks like this isn't working, and you lose a client. With this new way of running ad campaigns through High Level, however, we are seeing 2 to 10x more effective campaigns in terms of the return on ad spend. Doing ads this way is how you're going to get to the point where clients aren't needing to pause, or in fact are coming to you saying, let's double down, let's increase the ads budget. And also, even when they do need to pause, you don't actually lose them as a client. Because let's face it, ads aren't going to run forever. At some point, a business is going to need to pause ads. Hey, it may be because they're at capacity. They have more sales than they can handle. They don't need any more leads. You did so well that now they want to pause. And in the old model, that would mean you did so well that you just got fired for doing so well. But in the new method, you can pause ads, but continue the nurturing sequences, continue the database reactivation schedule, continue with other high-level services that I'm going to teach you about, this is a really, really sneaky shift from being a company that just does ads to being one that does ads plus, so that they can pause one of these services, but you'll still have a lot of other services that are included in your retainer that you deliver in the agreement that they will not want to turn off at all. So I'm really looking forward to showing you more about that. But let me just clear something up really quick. In case it wasn't clear before, you do not need to be good at ads in order to do this. In most real world cases, it's becoming more of a commodified service. A savvy young person working at a business can watch a YouTube video and learn how to turn ads on. Does that mean they're going to succeed? No, but it will give them just enough confidence to tell you no when they're on your sales call. And so the whole ads model on its own is really drying up. And even in the best case scenario, somebody who is in the top 10 percentile of ads chops or whatever it is, if they're a wizard at running ads, then yeah, you can expect to get cheaper leads, better targeting, stuff like that. But that's really just about it. And think about this, put yourself in the shoes of the business owner. If you're a business owner and you're talking to 2 different agencies, one is talking about how cheap their leads are, the other is talking about the amount of sales that their other clients are able to make using their wholly integrated nurturing system. That, in my personal experience, has been a no-brainer on the client acquisition side, being able to deliver real results, measurable results in terms of revenue and sales. Of course, in an ideal world, you'll also be able to get your leads for very cheap. They're not mutually exclusive by any means. But when forced to choose between the two, any savvy entrepreneur knows it's a no-brainer to go down the path that is actually going to lead to more sales. So let's go over an example with some real numbers so we can get a feel for what the difference really looks like out there in the wild. These are hypothetical numbers. This isn't a real case study, but this is based on my personal experience. And just to explain a little bit more about myself, I've worked in an agency that ran ads before High Level even existed. We did it that way with the Zap to Google sheet and deliver to the client and hope for the best. We did things the old way. And after High Level came out and we got our hands on it, the ads agency moved everything over to High Level. So I've seen it both ways, and this is very reminiscent of the difference between the old way and the new. So in the old way, we have the agency retainer, $1,000 a month. Let's say ad spend was $2,000 a month. Let's say cost per lead was $10 a month. This is all pretty standard. Number of leads in a month would be 200, and the appointment conversion might be 10%, which means they set 20 appointments. Let's say the appointment rate, the show rate for those appointments was half of them actually show up to them. So 10 appointments get conducted. The close rate's 30%, so they make 3 sales. That's pretty standard for just your average ads agency doing things the old way. In this new way, however, we have the management plus software fee of just $300 a month, because this model actually enables you to charge less to make things even more of a no-brainer on the client acquisition side. Of course, you could also still charge $1,000 or even more if you wanted to. That's not really the point here. But on the same ad spend, let's say the cost per lead is even more expensive. You're getting $15 leads because you're not even that good at ads. You're not as good at ads as the ad wizard who can get $10. But you're getting $15 cost per lead. The number of leads you generate here is only 140. The other agency could get 200 in a month on the same ad spend. But you have High Level that's taking care of the nurturing and the organization and the sales conversion process. These numbers are even conservative compared to what I've seen, but we could see something like an appointment conversion rate of more like 40%, which gives you 56 appointments set. You're already ahead of the other ads agency. But then with better appointment reminders and the whole calendaring system, your show rate is better. Instead of 50%, it's 75%. So the business with the same close rate, let's just say they've got the same sales approach, they're closing at the same rate either way, they're going to make 13 sales based on this campaign as opposed to the 3. So again, hypothetical numbers based on my real world experience, in which it's just very clear that the lead nurturing piece and the appointment setting and the sales conversion, the sales pipeline aspect of this is monumentally more important than just being good at ads. But it's actually even better than that, because in the new way, we have conversion API that's made simple. We've got long-term reactivation abilities. We've got other things High Level can do that are just straight up impossible to do with the old way of doing things, but High Level makes it so easy. And I'm going to show you some of the lowest hanging fruit of how to do stuff like automated review requests and reputation management, and add other services that continue to build value in the client's business. There are also intangibles like just the headaches that come with trying to build. There's also just the long list of intangibles that if you have any experience in the digital space, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. The time sucks, the learning new tools, the trying to integrate stuff, just the logging into Meta, right? All of that is just a headache and a nightmare. Versus with the new way, you just need one tool, it's high level, it's self-integrated, it works with any size team at any scale, and you can just ramp up and down as needed. So at the risk of beating a dead horse, here is a summary of all the information I've shared in this video, comparing the old way of doing things to the new. I've actually included a shareable link to this document beneath this module, so click the link beneath this module, it'll take you to a version of this doc that you can have for yourself. Print it out, hand it out to a client or a prospective client or your boss or whatever stakeholder in your organization you're trying to convince about this new way of doing things. But also, don't just take my word for it. Let me show you this new way throughout the rest of this playbook. I know I made a lot of big promises. They are all based on my personal experience using High Level. I've done things both ways working in the agency setting for the same agency. In fact, we did things the old way and then we tried things the new way. And I'm really excited and truly honored to share with you what I believe is just a better way to run paid ads. So if you're excited to learn about how to actually do all this stuff, let me show you. Go ahead and move on to the next module and let's dive in.
Click Copy, please.